Hello and welcome. I'm Lynette, creator of Rose and Revenue Designs and the voice behind Adulting Without a Safety Net. As a full-time employee, a full-time student pursuing my bachelor's degree, and a single mom of two in her 40s, I'm rebuilding financial stability in real time, and I'd like to share my calm money tools, honest lessons, and realistic systems for life without a traditional safety net. Today, I want to talk about something I call stability capital. Most people think money is what creates stability. I don't think that's completely true. I think there's something else happening underneath it. You don't just have money, you have stability capital. When people feel financially unstable, the first thing they usually blame is income. And sometimes income is the problem. But sometimes two people with the exact same income have completely different levels of stability. That's what got me thinking. I started looking at things that kept life functioning even when money was not perfect. That's what I call stability capital. The resources that keep your life from destabilizing when things do not go exactly according to plan. Notice that none of this requires being wealthy. You can have stability capital before you feel financially successful. Because stability capital is not what you earn. It's what helps you remain stable between earnings. When I started thinking about stability capital this way, 4 themes kept showing up: cash flow timing, credit continuity, bill predictability, and mental load reduction. First, cash flow timing. Most people focus on how much money arrives, but timing matters too. A paycheck that arrives before a bill creates a very different experience than a paycheck that arrives after one. The amount may be identical, but stability is not. Second, credit continuity. I don't view credit as a measure of worth. I view it as infrastructure. Good standing creates options. Options create stability, and stability reduces pressure. Third is bill predictability. One of the biggest sources of stress is not always the bill itself. It's uncertainty. When you know what's coming, you can plan. When everything feels random, stability starts disappearing. And then there's mental load, the part people rarely talk about. The reminders, the checking, the tracking, the constant background processing. Stability capital includes cognitive space, because a clear mind is a resource too. This is probably the most important reframe. A lot of people think they're trying to become rich, but often what they're actually trying to achieve is enough stability to think clearly, enough breathing room to make decisions from intention instead of urgency. When these pieces start working together, something interesting happens. Stability capital is not one account. It's a collection of systems. It's what happens when timing, credit, cash flow, and planning start working together. You don't necessarily feel rich, but life feels less fragile. And that matters, because stability is what allows progress to become sustainable. One of the lessons adulthood keeps teaching me is this: trust the evidence, not the fear. If the systems are improving, acknowledge it. If the pressure is decreasing, acknowledge it. Stability doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like fewer emergencies, more predictability, and a little more breathing room than you had before. And that's worth recognizing. If this gave you language for something you're living through, I made a free stability capital snapshot to help you rename what's still holding, what feels fragile, and what needs protection next. You can find it linked below, along with the link to the Adulting Without a Safety Net blog, where I share a bit more detail about my journey. No shame, no perfection, one realistic next step. Talk to you next time.